What are the best states and worst states to retire in? I've got the full list ranked, and then how does that apply to you and your planning? I've got that and more coming up. My name's Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. All right, so where do you plan to retire? You plan to retire in your home state right now? Do you plan to follow the kids? Well, newsflash, they may not all end up in the same place. What's your vision on where you want to retire? Likely, it involves a lot of personal matters to you, either where you grew up, where family is, maybe the climate. But of course, there's geeks like me out there that go out and survey and try to objectively look and say which states are the best states to retire in, which are the worst, and where might your state rank? Well, recently Wallet Hub did a survey just like that and actually broke it down pretty analytically, pretty geeky actually. I appreciated it, and ranking all 50 states in their retirement friendliness. So across 47 different metrics, but they group these metrics into 3 categories: affordability, quality of life, and then access to health care, and then weighted those criteria based on that. Even though affordability has fewer metrics, it's actually rated a little bit higher than the others, but all are factored in to determine what's the overall weighted score for each state. And here it is. Where does your state stand? Topping the list is Virginia. If you would have asked me, hey, pop quiz, what's the best state to retire in? I wouldn't have said Virginia. It's not local to me, and I really have no sense. And I don't hear a lot of snowbirds from Michigan, Indiana going to Virginia to retire in. Do hear a lot of that for Florida, which is coming in ranked at number 2, tied with Colorado. Hear that a lot as well. A lot of people from the Midwest, very flat, say would like to retire out there. Wyoming, Delaware, New Hampshire, South Dakota, Minnesota is in the top 10. Idaho, North Dakota. Where I live, Indiana, coming in right smack in the middle, maybe bottom half. Michigan, where I was born, coming in just about the same as well. So where does your state line up? Is it ranking near the top, near the bottom? And what's your opinion on that? Would love to hear from you. All right, so within affordability, that seems fairly obvious how they would objectively determine that. Cost of living being the primary driver. Cost of housing, of course, unaffordable across the board. And so affordability, when you think about your overall, your retirement, probably the first thing that comes to mind is maybe your finances. Are you comfortable? And then second thing that maybe comes to mind is travel or family, something like that. So finances, affordability, making sure that you're retiring somewhere that fits within your overall financial situation, that makes a lot of sense. So affordability, 1. Quality of life, I actually looked at some of the criteria here, some of the metrics within it, and essentially, risk of social isolation, gosh, that's a big one. Share of the population that is your same age. Are you retiring? Are you living with your peers? Elderly food insecurity rate is another one. Access to public transportation, and then here, of course, I would have put this at the top of the list, but it's buried as one of the metrics within this category is, access to milder weather. And so at least growing up in the north and living in the north, we think of sunshine. You think of retiring to warmer climates. And then finally, you also think one of the big decisions you're going to make in retirement is what you're going to do with health insurance, and having access to great health care at that stage of life is obviously critical. And so therefore, number of dentists, number of physicians, number of high quality healthcare facilities within a certain range is obviously critically important. Minnesota, in fact, rated so high on this score because they actually ranked number 1 in access to healthcare. No surprise, since housed to or home to the Mayo Clinic there in Rochester. And so that's how they broke it down. But what about you? When you think of retiring, where do you think you're going to be? Are you envisioning staying, home where you currently live, where you were raised, something like that? Following the kids, following better climate? Where are you envisioning retiring? Well, I would apply this. Not only is this interesting and, where you grew up or where you live now or where you want to be, check it out, take a look at the list, see if you agree with this, but I would apply this in two different ways. And number one, what if you plan on retiring in a state that maybe is ranking fairly low on this hopefully objective measure? Well, that's okay. In fact, from an affordability standpoint, if you look and say, oh gosh, the state that I was hoping to retire in, I'm from the East Coast and I was planning on retiring here or staying here, something like that. Well, that's okay. You can still plan ahead financially and have a fantastic and enjoyable retirement despite what these metrics actually say, right? So you can do that by looking at all 5 factors of your financial situation, of your retirement plan, making sure that the variables that are impacted in each of those 5 factors, they all equate when stress test to a confident retirement. That the age at which you want to be done and how long your retirement's going to last, as well as what you think you're going to be spending, what your overall lifestyle is. That includes health insurance and so on, which is one of the main criteria here, as well as inflation and standard of living, all that sort of stuff. What your income sources are, so how are you going to optimize Social Security, how much you're going to draw out of your investments, and speaking of, that's the 4th category, how much do you have in investments, how much are you saving up, and then lastly, how much risk are you comfortable taking? Those are the 5 factors, and that's unique to you. You answer those questions, and then you plan for that to hopefully ensure that as those 5 areas sort of come together and you stress test your retirement plan, that you can retire with confidence. Whether that's in a state that objectively ranks very high or very low, whatever your vision of retirement is, do that planning work, that 5-factor planning work to ensure that you're on track. And then the second way that I would apply this is, what if part of that vision for retirement that you have includes a move? What if it does? My folks, they were born and raised in West Michigan, in the state of Michigan. Love Michigan. I live just a couple hours from where I grew up. But when they retired, they wanted to move to a warmer climate. And so they retired to Florida and they snowbirded for a couple of years. And then they finally just said, whole hog, we're going to live in Florida. It's better climate. There's more activity. Their quality of life significantly improved. And thanks to technology, my biggest concern was, gosh, we're going to, our relationship is going to suffer. Our relationship with their grandkids would suffer. And thanks to technology, sure, maybe would it be a little bit different or a little bit better if we were in close proximity? Yes, but it's still a strong relationship thanks to that technology. So what if your retirement includes a move? Does that mean your ability to retire with confidence is now uncertain? Absolutely not. Retiring with a move or even a potential move, it's actually, you can build that into one of the factors. You can build that into spending, and that's likely where I would put it is, well, when we retire, we might buy a second home and we're going to need a down payment. That down payment is then that second mortgage after a down payment, or second home after a down payment is going to come with a mortgage. Therefore, we've got to add that back into our spending. So all of that factored into that second criteria, that how much you're going to spend in retirement. The other thing, if you think it's going to include a move to a area of the country that has a higher cost of living, well, that's something that you can actually calculate and factor in as well. We've helped many people retire from the Midwest, which is generally low cost of living, to other areas, maybe with family or whatever, that have a higher cost of living. Simply do the math, and we take what they're currently believe they'd spend in retirement if they retired here, and we apply that to, we adjust it for cost of living to see, well, when you retire into the Carolinas, this is what it presumably should cost. So even if you're anticipating that your retirement may include a move, you can still plan ahead so that you can approach retiring with confidence, that you're doing what you need to do to be able to have that desired and peaceful and enjoyable retirement that you've always dreamed. You can't get there without planning though, and in order to plan, you need a certified financial planner that's looking at all 6 areas of your financial life to make sure that you're on track. If you don't have a CFP on your team, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with the K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or send us an email, info@Korhorn.com. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.